Welcome back to the TBC podcast. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give us a like if you enjoy these deep dives. It really helps others find the show.
Absolutely.
Today, we're going to unpack some really interesting ideas
Okay.
about resilience, second chances, and maybe even a bit of trusting your gut.
Sounds intriguing.
So,
Where are we headed with this one?
well, imagine this. You're a young, ambitious art specialist.
Okay.
In New York City, life is good, right?
Yeah.
You've got this amazing boyfriend who's a dedicated surgeon, a dream trip to the Galapagos Islands all booked.
Wow.
You're on top of the world. What could possibly go wrong?
I see where this is going. The classic too good to be true setup experience tells me a twist is coming.
You got it.
Yeah.
Enter stage left a global pandemic.
Oh, no.
Our protagonist's boyfriend, Finn, is suddenly on the front lines, unable to leave the city.
Right.
He urges her to go on the trip solo, reminding her those tickets weren't exactly cheap.
What a dilemma. Stick to the plan, adapt, or just cancel everything. It's interesting how this early decision already hints at her character even before the real journey begins.
Right, so she finds herself on these incredible islands.
Yeah.
Just as the world starts shutting down.
Oh, wow.
Talk about bad timing.
Yeah.
But here's where things take an unexpected turn.
Okay.
Stranded and alone, she ends up connecting with a local family, a grandmother, her son, and granddaughter, who offer her a place to stay.
It's like she's stumbled into a secret world, hidden away from the chaos and fear gripping the rest of the planet. A chance encounter that leads to a completely different experience.
Exactly. And as the days turn into weeks, she starts to question everything about her perfectly planned life back in New York.
Interesting.
Is this idyllic island existence her true calling, or just a temporary escape from reality?
That's the central question, isn't it? The pull between the familiar, even if it's flawed, and the allure of the unknown. It's a tension many of us face at some point in our lives.
Now buckle up, because here's where it gets really mind-bending. What if this entire island life, her connection with this family, the whole experience was all a dream?
Whoa, hold on. A dream? Like while she was sleeping?
Not just sleeping. Imagine she's back in New York, unconscious, battling a severe case of COVID. This entire island life is a vivid, almost supernatural dream playing out in her mind while she's on a ventilator.
Now that's a twist. Suddenly we're dealing with a whole new level of what if. It makes you wonder about the power of the subconscious, especially in times of crisis.
Right. The line between reality and fantasy blurs completely. Our protagonist, and we as the audience, are left grappling with the implications. What happens when the life you dreamt feels more real, more authentic than the one you wake up to?
It raises profound questions about the nature of reality and how our minds cope when our expectations are shattered. This isn't just about a trip gone wrong anymore, is it?
Not at all. And there's this added layer of survivor's guilt. She wakes up to a world ravaged by the pandemic, a world where so many have suffered immense loss while she was living in this dream paradise. How do you even begin to process that?
That feeling of guilt can be incredibly powerful. It forces you to confront your own values and choices in the face of unimaginable suffering. How do you reconcile those two realities?
That's a heavy question.
Yeah.
So now the big question becomes, how do we move on after such a brush with the unknown? Our carefully crafted plans are upended. Our sense of reality is shaken. Where do we even begin to rebuild?
That's where the real journey begins, isn't it? Do we cling to the familiar, trying to piece back together what was lost, or do we embrace the possibility of a new beginning?
And that's what makes this story so compelling. It's not just about escaping reality. It's about discovering a new one, both within and outside ourselves. It's about resilience, second chances, and realizing that sometimes letting go can lead to the most unexpected discoveries.
I'm already hooked. So how does this all unfold? Does she try to go back to recapture that dream?
Well, before we get there, let's rewind a bit. Remember those postcards she was sending to Finn throughout her island adventure?
Postcards.
They offer a fascinating glimpse into her evolving mindset and her growing connection to the island. But they also reveal some unsettling truths about her relationship with Finn.
Postcards. You've piqued my interest. How do these simple notes become so significant?
Let's dive into that in part 2. We'll explore the hidden messages within those seemingly mundane postcards and uncover the deeper transformation taking place within our protagonist.
I can't wait. See you soon. Welcome back to the TBC podcast.
Don't forget to subscribe and like for more audiobooks if you're enjoying this deep dive.
Last time we left off with our protagonist, Diana, seemingly living this idyllic life on the Galapagos Islands while the world outside was facing a pandemic. But as we learned, it was all a dream.
Yeah.
A vivid escape.
Right.
created by her subconscious while she was battling COVID back in New York.
And right before we left off, we hinted at these postcards she was sending to Finn, her boyfriend back in the city.
Right. Now you might be thinking, postcards, what's so interesting about those? But trust me, they become a powerful window into Diana's internal journey and the transformation taking place within her.
I'm all ears. How do these seemingly simple postcards become so revealing?
Well, initially, they're filled with those classic touristy descriptions.
Okay.
You know, the beaches are breathtaking, the wildlife is amazing, wish you were here. Almost like she's trying to convince herself and Finn that everything is fine, that she's having a good time despite the circumstances.
It's like she's putting on a brave face, trying to maintain a sense of normalcy while her world is being turned upside down.
Exactly. But as she spends more time on the island, connecting with the local family, and immersing herself in this new way of life, the tone of the postcard starts to shift.
Oh.
They become more introspective, more focused on her personal experiences and the lessons she's learning.
So what kind of things is she writing about?
Yeah.
Give me a taste of this evolution.
She starts to describe the profound kindness of the local family.
The simplicity of their life. The rhythm of island life that forces her to slow down and be present in a way she never was back in the fast-paced world of New York.
It's like she's discovering a different set of values.
Right.
A different way of being in the world that resonates with her on a deeper level.
And there's this growing sense of dissonance between what she's experiencing on the island and the life she left behind. The career ambitions, the carefully laid out plans with Finn, it all starts to feel out of sync with who she's becoming.
That's fascinating. So these postcards become more than just updates.
Right.
They become a way for her to process her own internal conflict, her evolving sense of self.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. In one postcard, she even writes about feeling guilty for enjoying this peaceful escape while Finn is facing the horrors of the pandemic back in New York.
That guilt is a powerful emotion. It speaks to her growing awareness of her own privilege and the stark contrast between her island reality and the suffering happening in the world outside. It's a conflict many of us face during that time, trying to find joy amidst so much pain and uncertainty.
But it's not just guilt, is it?
Right.
There's also a sense of longing, almost like she's falling in love with this new life, this new version of herself, and realizing that going back might mean losing a part of herself she's only just discovered.
Like the island and this dream have awakened something within her, a sense of possibility she didn't even know existed. And those postcards become a way for her to articulate these complex emotions, to grapple with this newfound sense of self-awareness.
Right. But remember, this is all happening while she's supposedly unconscious, hooked up to a ventilator back in New York. It's like her subconscious is creating this elaborate escape from the trauma of the pandemic. And these postcards are the only way for those subconscious thoughts and feelings to reach the surface.
It's a brilliant way to explore the power of the mind and the ways we cope with crisis and trauma. It makes you wonder about the hidden messages our dreams might be trying to tell us.
And it begs the question, what happens when that dream world feels more real, more fulfilling than the life you're supposed to be living? How do you reconcile those two experiences when you finally wake up?
That's the dilemma Diana faces when she opens her eyes and finds herself back in a hospital bed, back in a world forever changed by the pandemic. She's physically back, but a part of her is still on that island, longing for the simplicity, the connection, the sense of purpose she found there.
And it's not just the island she has to come to terms with. Remember, she wakes up to a world that's been ravaged by the pandemic, a world grappling with loss, fear, and uncertainty. It's a stark contrast to the idyllic world she's been inhabiting in her dream.
It's like being caught between two worlds, two realities, each pulling her in opposite directions.
And she's left to grapple with this immense weight of survivor's guilt, a long road to recovery, and the realization that her old life, the life she'd so carefully planned, no longer fits.
So where does she go from here?
Right.
Does she try to cling to the dream, or does she find a way to integrate the lessons she's learned into her new reality?
That's a question we'll explore in part 3 of our deep dive. We'll examine Diana's struggle to come to terms with her experience, her journey to reconcile the two worlds she's inhabited, and ultimately the choices she makes that redefine her path forward.
It sounds like a powerful exploration of identity resilience and the courage it takes to embrace the unknown.
It is, and it raises some important questions for all of us about the paths we choose, the dreams we hold on to, and the unexpected detours that can lead to profound self-discovery. We'll be back soon with part 3, so be sure to stay tuned. Welcome back to the TPC podcast. Remember to subscribe and like for more audiobooks if you're enjoying this deep dive. We've been following Diana's journey from her seemingly perfect life in New York
Yeah.
to her unexpected escape to the Galapagos Islands,
Right.
which turned out to be a vivid dream while she was battling COVID.
It's been quite a roller coaster of emotions. The pandemic, the island life, the postcards, and that underlying question, how do you reconcile a dream that felt more real than reality itself?
And now she's awake, back in a world forever changed by the pandemic, grappling with the loss of the life she dreamt of and facing the reality she left behind. Where does she even begin to pick up the pieces?
It's a disorienting experience, to say the least. Imagine waking up from the most incredible dream, a dream that felt more real than your waking life, and then being thrust back into a world that feels lacking.
It's like returning from a life-changing trip, but on an entirely different scale.
Yeah.
You're physically back, but your heart and mind are still somewhere else.
Precisely. And for Diana, that somewhere else is the Galapagos Islands. The simplicity, the connection with the local family, especially Gabriel, the single father, it all felt so real.
Yeah, right. So what does she do? Does she try to go back? Does she try to find Gabriel and his family to recapture that dream?
She does try to find them. Remember, for her, those 2 months on the island were as real as anything. But the pandemic has disrupted everything. Travel is difficult, information is scarce, and there's no guarantee that she'll even be able to find them.
So there's a sense of loss, of unresolved longing. This dream that offered so much now out of reach.
Absolutely. And that sense of loss is compounded by the reality she wakes up to. A world still reeling from the pandemic, grappling with loss, fear, and uncertainty.
She's dealing with survivor's guilt, the physical and emotional toll of her illness, and the realization that her old life, the life she'd so carefully planned, no longer fits. It's almost as if she's outgrown it.
Exactly. All those milestones she'd set for herself, the career goals, the marriage to Finn, the house in the suburbs, they suddenly feel meaningless compared to the profound connections and experiences she had in her dream.
It's like she's glimpsed a different way of life, a different set of values, and now she's caught between two worlds.
That's a powerful insight. She's no longer the same person who boarded that plane to the Galapagos. The dream, despite not being real in the conventional sense, has fundamentally changed her.
So what does she do? Does she abandon everything and chase after that lost paradise?
Well, that's the tempting option, isn't it? To try and recapture that feeling of belonging, of living in harmony with oneself and nature. But Diana's journey isn't about escaping reality. It's about integrating the lessons she's learned into her life moving forward.
So it's not about going back.
No.
It's about moving forward, but in a new direction.
Precisely. She doesn't abandon her career entirely, but she starts making choices that align with her newfound values. She prioritizes relationships, seeks out experiences that bring her joy and fulfillment, and lets go of the need to control every aspect of her future.
It's like she's hit the reset button, but instead of wiping the slate clean, she's choosing which parts to keep and which parts to let go of.
It's a beautiful way to look at it, and it reminds us that sometimes the most profound journeys happen within ourselves. Even amidst crisis and loss, there's always the possibility for growth, transformation, and new beginnings.
What a powerful message.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up our deep dive, what are the key takeaways our listeners should consider?
I think it's about embracing the unexpected. Being open to detours and redirections, recognizing that our plans aren't always the best plans, and sometimes letting go of control can lead to unexpected discoveries and a deeper understanding of ourselves.
It's also about the power of second chances, using moments of crisis and upheaval to reevaluate our values, our priorities, and what truly matters to us.
And perhaps most importantly, it's about the resilience of the human spirit, our capacity to adapt, to heal, and to find meaning and purpose even in the face of loss and uncertainty.
If you're interested in exploring these ideas further, we highly recommend checking out the official book that inspired this deep dive, Wish You Were Here by Jodi Picoult.
It's a story that will stay with you long after you finish the last page, prompting you to consider your own life choices and the infinite possibilities that exist when we dare to step outside our comfort zones.
And as you go about your day, consider this. What dreams have you been putting off? What changes have you been resisting? Maybe it's time to embrace the unexpected, to let go of the reins a little and see where life takes you. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and be sure to tune in next time for another thought-provoking adventure.